we have Letitia, Jeffrey, and Alfred, and I'm sure you're primed with lots of questions, but we'll get it rolling with what made you decide to participate in the exhibition?
Well, first of all, it was an honor to be able to be in such a major exhibition in my own hometown. So I felt honored to be a part of it, and also the subject really ties into the narrative of my work. My work really deals a lot with the aftermath of emancipation and where we are now as a culture and a community, and so that was really exciting, and that's the reason why I agreed to be a part of the exhibition.
Thank you all for having me, and congratulations. The exhibition looks really stunning, and I'm honored to be on this panel with such brilliant minds. I was originally approached about being, well, before that, I had a studio visit sometime back in 2020 with Horace Bullard, who was originally a part of the curatorial team but had to leave for reasons beyond anything that I know. And Horace introduced me to Maggie, and Maggie introduced me to Marita, and it became evident that this project was going to be something meaningful and substantive, and that it really was getting to the crux of what I was saying. It felt as if this was a beautiful essay that was being written, and I had, or maybe even a beautiful book, and I just had a chapter inside that book, and I got the space to really expand on these ideas.
Yeah, I'm behind you on that. I feel a lot the same way about that as you do. I know Marita approached me about it. I know Marita for a minute or two. And
more than a minute.
yeah. But I'm based in Atlanta, and the conversation we had, most of my contemporaries have about this. We have had a lot about what a liberation means, especially in the quote unquote the Black Mecca of the United States. So I think I had a kind of a unique perspective, being that my studio, my home, my family and friends are based there, and I think that gives me a unique perspective about what that means in that space. So, and also to show it all such illustrious and bright artists, such as these right here. So I'm proud of that. Glad to be a part of this.
I would just say, since Jeffrey brought it up, and you're all press, we're not hiding anything. Horace Ballard is still very appreciative of the project, and an early thought partner. He moved on to be the curator at Harvard University and was like, I can't do everything at once. So that is the reason that he gracefully exited the project, but he sends his love to everybody, and still very much a part of the thinking of the show.
I'd like to follow up on what each of you said in regards to your relationship to the ideas of emancipation and liberation, and how it is a part of your praxis. Could you discuss specifically how you interpreted the question about what emancipation and freedom means today, and how that is embodied in your works?
If we're starting back on this end again, I'll go first. I think that specifically my work deals with, lately I've been doing a lot of projects on freedmen's towns, looking at whether there's anything left there, and if there is a community left, what is the stability, what is the strength of that community? And for the most part, there's not a lot left, and the ones that are left were divided by a highway, literally, and big industry was allowed to build up around them, causes all kind of other issues. And so that work for me is really examining, I hate to use the word success, but what emancipation really looks like in the literal community. Was those communities able to survive and thrive? Were those individuals able to stay tight-knit? So even with the works that are in the exhibition, there's two different communities that I have up, and one of them is still dealing with a lot of generational pain. That's the legacy of their community, the Tulsa Greenwood. And then when you look at the other community, Africatown in Alabama, you see a much more like unified group, a group that's actively trying to take agency over their community, and specifically the Clotilda, the last slave ship, so that they can bring that back to their community. And they have more of a sense of wanting to share their experiences. They see their history, their ancestry as relating to all African Americans, not just their own. And they're not as much focused on the pain of what happened to their community as they are at moving things forward, you know. And so I think that both of those are a really great look at what emancipation has become and is still moving through.
Thank you for that. I think that I'm going to tell a story first.
Okay.
So the sculptures and the drawings that I have in the exhibition respond to an incident that happened to me 4 years ago. I was living in New York City, in Harlem, and I was about to take the downtown A train, and this must have been about 10 p.m. at night, and I had my MTA card. And for those of you that can't tell, I have an accent. I'm from the Bahamas. And so there's this really funny clip of Hillary Clinton when she was running for president, trying to swipe an MTA card. And if this woman was supposed to be the New York candidate that was running for president, and she didn't know how to swipe at the turnstile, how am I, this man from the Caribbean? Anyway, so I swiped my card, and the turnstile said, "Please swipe again." I swiped the second time, the turnstile said, "Please swipe again." And on the third time, the machine read, "Insufficient funds." And I knew that I had money on my card, and so I decided to jump the turnstile. And the cops came after me, and long story short, I got a ticket, and on the ticket, my height was listed as 6'7", and my weight is 250 pounds. I've never been either of those things. Hopefully I'll keep it that way. I'm 6'2", and I weigh 180 pounds. And I'm also a Capricorn. So I'm all about logic and reason. And so I went to court, I fought this case, and in court I realized that the people that were facing these similar allegations were all black and brown people, right? And so I became really interested in what are the systems of visibility or representation that make it possible so that this room is filled with all people that look like me. And that's not to say that these people were all innocent, right? But I know for sure that I've seen many demographics of people jump turnstiles. I was simultaneously at Columbia doing my MFA in visual arts and just thinking about how academia and theory and education is so Western, right? People that look like me, we don't have our stories told in art history quite often. And so that's really the impetus of the work that you're seeing, the kinetic sculptures. The block is hot, and a still tongue keeps a wise tongue keeps a still head. Sorry, I'm getting a little confused because this is very emotional for me. Yeah, and so to answer your question more directly, I think that my work relates to emancipation, these themes of emancipation and liberation, in the sense that I'm thinking deeply about what it means to be a person that exists in the world the way that I do physically, right? This black immigrant person that's dealing with this long history of colonialism and imperialism, right? Because not only am I a black man in America, I'm also an immigrant, right? And really thinking about that long history and tradition of colonialism and imperialism in the Caribbean and in the Bahamas and in Haiti. And I think that although the work might appear very daunting and destructive and violent, I'm also thinking about the sculptures as being, that destruction as being freeing, right? Through this slow death, this slow grinding down, these sculptures are becoming something else. The drawings that are in the exhibition are literally made with the dust that comes from the sculptures as they're being destroyed. That's the dust mounted on roofing paper with double-sided tape.
Emancipation has always been something I've been addressing thinking about in my work. Historically, and in a contemporary sense, emancipation, I think most people think of it as redress, a solution. But when you look at the grand American experiment, it hasn't been solved. I think we like to think it has, based on politics and based on what we like to see and what's been presented to us, but that's couldn't be any further from the truth. I live in Atlanta. My studio's in the West End. I'm surrounded by black folks. The world likes to look at Atlanta, again, like the black Mecca. Everybody there is going great. They're on TV, Black Housewives of Atlanta. Entertainers, actors, the best and brightest of what Black America represents. But that's, just what's being purported to the public. That's a representation, but that's not how the other 90%, 95% of the city is living. And Atlanta is a microcosm of the rest of Black America. So that's what I focus on when it comes to my work. Screw representation. It's about the realities of black folks and how they live on a day-to-day basis. What their lives address, things that you experience. Especially when you told that narrative about going in the subway. That happens. Same thing happens in East Point. So yeah, that's a portion of what my practice is about, and where I stand on what emancipation means to me.
Can you talk a little bit about what you hope our visitors take away from the exhibition? What do you hope their experience is?
I hope that you would step outside of your experience and let these representations of what Black life across the diaspora means to us, and to figure these things out and try to understand what these realities mean, and take your time with it. Let these things wash over you, and we're here. We're here in town, so I hope you would approach us and ask us questions about our experiences and why. Give us some more detailed questions about why we do what we do. So, yeah.
I've been thinking about this question for a bit, right? I think specifically because my practice is broader than just the work that is on exhibit here. As I think in 2020, I had this paradigm shift where I also thought about what would it mean to celebrate Black joy, right? Because yes, the subway incident was very traumatic, and in some ways I'm still scarred by the police, and I make sure that there's a visible receipt that I pay, even if the bus driver's like, come on, I'm going to pay, because I don't want to be placed in that uncomfortable situation again. Although the work that is visible and on exhibit here, I think, is dealing with the sort of dark underbelly of racism and what it means to exist as a Black person, I think that I ideally would also like the viewer to consider the sort of complex multiplicity, rich, non-singular, like Blackness and Black people. We have many different identities, right? And we could also hold up spaces where we can be happy and content and have joy. I know that's almost completely antithetical to what's happening inside the work, but that's being on my mind.
What I want people to take from the work, I think it's twofold. The first and foremost is kind of an educational factor. Like, I really am drawn to these histories that don't get a lot of attention. I went to high school, and my first degree was at the University of Oklahoma, and never learned about the Tulsa Race Massacres the whole time I was in Oklahoma. It wasn't until I came to Texas that was a reality to me. So I grew up under a history buff, and so I'm very much drawn to the story, and I hope that people, that don't have the same effect for viewers when they come and see the work, that they will learn something. And then at the same time, I'm presenting the work in a way that hopefully telling these stories at the same level as old master paintings, and that it will be a soft draw, but then maybe a little bit of a reality check when you get to see what's going on with the work. So there's like this twofold of luring you in a way that's really attractive and soft and feminine, but then the stories that I'm dealing with are a little bit heavier, so you might learn something in the process.
Thank you for that, those responses. I'm actually going to draw out, or I'd like to draw out a little bit more of what you just said, Letitia, in terms of that reference to old master paintings. And my question is more of, could you talk about, and it's a two-part question. One, could you talk about artists who inspired you? And two, if you had had the opportunity to co-curate this show, could you name one artist you would have liked to be in dialogue with?
You know, artists that inspire me, there's a broad range. So I like Kara Walker. You can kind of see her influence in my silhouette work. But I think another artist that maybe is not on the national stage is a photographer named Bernie Imes, who is from Mississippi, and he did this project called Juke Joint, and I saw it when I was first studying photography, and it just had a huge impact on me. I love you know, the rawness of his documentary work, and the color, which reminds me of the exhibition here, has that connection, sort of like we were talking earlier about the transatlantic color shift that happened, that, you know, we brought over this vibrant, bright color that you see in the houses down south. And so I'm really inspired by that in his work and his beautiful storytelling in his documentary projects. And as far as like an artist that I would bring in, you guys actually brought her in the film screening with the director for The Descendants. And I saw her work after I had done this project. And her imagery was so similar to mine, because the Africatown piece that's is a part of a larger body of work called Bitter Water Sweet. And I'm excited to meet her.
I like the mystery of Robert Pruitt. There's narratives that's going on that, you know, the allegories that he's communicating, but there's some that he's kind of keeping to himself. I love that. Also, I guess when it comes to composition, you would Lee Smith. But if I would have artists I like to have my work in conversation with, I guess I'd choose a Texan, John Biggins. I like to see how that work would work in concert, and especially when it comes to what's happening contemporarily, and what his work spoke to in the past. Yeah, I can see that.
I'm thinking of two artists who are really good friends. I don't know if that's a conflict of interest. Full disclosure, they're my friends. But I've been in contacts with them in different institutional scenarios, residencies, fellowships, or awards. There's a mixed media performance, sculpture artist. We did Next Haven together. Her name is Alana Clark. She makes these really amazing abstracted wall relief works using hair bonding glue. So if you've ever worn a weave, there's this very specific silicone-like glue that you use to put. Is it okay if I say that's a black woman thing? Anyway, it's very, yeah, it's very commonly used in black hairdressing salons, and she uses this material to make these really fantastic wall pieces, and she folds them and rips them and dances with them, so they're kind of these performances, but they exist as these sculptural wall paintings. I really love her practice, and I would really like to see our work more institutionally in conversation. And then I'm also thinking of Kim Dakers. She's an artist of Jamaican ancestry. Also practicing in New York, we would vote Arcadia Wardies last year. And maybe this is more reflective of my personal taste and aesthetic, but she also makes very Black. Aesthetically, she uses old recycled bicycle tires, and she manipulates them into these busts, these really incredible sculptures.
Thank you all for being a wonderful audience and for taking the time to listen to the artists and to hear the tour about the show. We hope you'll come back and really just take the time to spend with the pieces and with the exhibition and to attend the programming that will be at Amon Carter.
Bravo.